I'll have whatever he's having.
Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
happy 200th episode.
What do I get?
Satisfaction that we've been going this long.
I feel like I should get a prize for doing this for this long.
I'm surprised how, that we've clocked that many.
I'm surprised I've watched that many films. And sometimes it's been more than one film in one, so it's more than that. So imagine how much information now I have in my head.
Lots.
Yeah. I could actually have a conversation about film. To be fair, I did notice something when we did a Christmas quiz at work.
Oh?
There was a film sheet. Obviously, it's Christmas based.
Yeah.
Which is my forte.
Yeah.
Like, don't give me any other quiz, but give me a Christmas quiz and I'm bloody brilliant. And all the film ones, I got pretty much all of them. So, this podcast is useful for something.
That's good then. But we are having a special guest joining us for this episode that we're doing, which it's kind of worked out nicely in that sense, even obviously we did have the time off, but there we are. Yeah. So, in a roundabout way, it's kind of worked that we have...
You had some weird planning that you wanted to do at the beginning of the year, and you wanted to be so precise with everything, and you wanted a guest each month, and actually now it's happened.
Yep.
So you're welcome. COVID did you something good. Shows you don't always have to plan everything in life intricately, and it still works out the way you want it to.
Yeah. So it's Sarah from the Instagram page, Sarah's Popcorn Chat.
Okay.
She's also a YouTuber and Twitter and X, whatever it's called now as well. But yeah, she's got a YouTube channel called that by the same name, and she just like reviews on there and stuff. And I asked her what some of her favourite films were that we could have a chat about, and one of the options she gave was Scooby-Doo as being one of her favourites.
Okay.
So I was like, I haven't seen that in a good long while.
I've never seen it.
No? You've seen the cartoon, though, and you sort of know of...
I've never been a big Scooby-Doo fan.
No?
No, it wasn't something I think I grew up with.
Whereas I did Hanna-Barbera kind of cartoon of that, like the Flintstones and stuff. I got
the Flintstones. I love the Flintstones, but Scooby-Doo was never really... I think it's because it was a bit scary.
Really? Ooh.
Yeah, because you know me, little scaredy cat. So probably with that. Well, but I do know the characters. Obviously, I know you've got Scooby. You've got Shaggy.
Yep.
Velma?
Velma. Close. Mel. Go on. Two more.
You're not going to get them out of me. I don't know those.
Fred and Daphne.
Oh, Daphne, I know.
Yeah.
Fred would have never come to me.
Yeah, so that's the crew.
See, so no, I'm aware of something, clearly.
In the Mystery Machine.
What about the little dog in the Scrappy?
There's a dog called Scrappy-Doo, in some of the cartoons he was there, so...
Is he in this?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Okay.
I'll say that he is, yeah. So this is a 2002 live-action adaptation of...
I feel like I've seen parts, but...
You might have caught glimpses on TV, but...
You know... when we did Singing in the Rain or The Sound of Music, where you know parts of it just because it's just pop culture kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's more that than me actually sat down watching it.
Right, okay, yeah.
It's just I'm aware of it, even the Indiana Jones music that I knew.
Iconic,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's more that.
Yeah. I don't know as to, with this, how iconic things that you will have picked up on, but...
No, the song. No, there's going to be some ghosts or mummies. I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing at me?
It's scary stuff.
Yeah.
But it's aimed at kids. It's PG rated, so...
Oh, I don't think I can watch it.
Yeah.
I feel like this should be a Halloween special, Paul.
Yeah, but I feel like it's kind of more light-hearted in the sense of that. So it's kind of
I mean, you have to get your scares in on Halloween, is what you're saying.
Before.
I see.
more valuable ones to bank for that period. So.
I'm going to get a divorce. Okay, I'm excited. I'm glad to have another female on as well. Always.
So, yeah, well, we're back with Sophie's thoughts and our special guest, of course, on Scooby-Doo. Where are you?
I've been sent by my employer, Mr. Emil Montevarius, to invite you to his world-famous amusement park, Spooky Island.
Oh, we don't go near any place with spooky, haunted, forbidden, or creepy in the name.
Well, hydrochloric?
Right, or hydroclonic, but that's for a whole different reason, man.
And we're back, having watched Scooby-Dooby-Doo. And we're not alone, as we're joined by a special guest, and I know she's a very big fan of the film. I'd like to welcome Sarah from Sarah's Popcorn Chat. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Start things off by introducing yourself and telling everybody where they can find you on the socials.
Yeah, so my name's Sarah. I sort of run under the name Popcorn Chat or Sarah's Popcorn Chat. I mainly have a YouTube channel or an Instagram and Twitter, TikTok, everything basically. Talking about new films, old films. So if you want to check out any sort of hot takes that I have, as alluding to before the recording, that I'm very much of a harsh critic. So if you want to hear some controversial opinions, head on over to Popcorn Chat.
I'll be interested to see how this one works. Obviously, last time we had a podcast, it was a bit more male orientated when we had a guest. So it'll be interesting to see what the dynamic is this time, a bit more female orientated.
I think this is a perfect film for that, you know. There's some real sort of female empowerment in it.
So, what is your relationship with this film?
I think I did watch the cartoon as a kid, but obviously it was big in the late 60s, 70s, so I'm not that old. I did sort of watch it sort of the early 2000s. But this film, I think I saw it in the cinema, so I would have been 6 years old, 7 years old. So this was kind of perfect for me to watch this film. And I just absolutely loved it. I watched it on repeat, got it on DVD. I've still got the same DVD I've had since I was that age. I've just loved it ever since. I haven't really delved into the other TV episodes. I know they made some films as well from the cartoons. I've never really watched them, but I know a lot of people love a lot of those versions of them. So I would like to go back because I think it's kind of a classic, and falling in love with the horror film genre, I think it's got some great homages to that, really.
No, it definitely has, and I know a lot of the cast in this are sort of like from that horror background. I know that Matthew Lillard was in Scream, and that was way before this, I believe.
The first Scream was 1996, so yeah, quite a bit before.
I think, was it Buffy the Vampire Slayer was before then as well?
Yeah.
Or was it like running into?
Yeah, should have still been doing it, I think, when this was on. There's a lot of horror people. Same with number 2 as well. We get Seth Green as well from Buffy, and it's all connected. There's all horror elements throughout this, and I love it.
My history with the film is from back in the day when the local co-op of mine had a disc rental service.
Oh wow!
So that's showing its age, showing my age, and I really enjoyed it back then, and it somehow still stuck with me, even though I've not really a film that I've gone back to a lot. But I don't know if that's because there's sort of like a horror element to it, which early days, that's kind of shaped me a little bit, like reading like Goosebumps books and stuff like that. So there's like a fondness from that at an early age.
So completely opposite to me then, Paul.
Yeah.
So I'm not really into horror films or anything like that. It's not really my go-to thing. To be fair, anything equivalent of a scary Halloween film would be Casper the Friendly Ghost is probably my favourite.
Oh, that's still really enjoyable.
Halloween Town.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm completely in the dark with Scooby-Doo. I don't think I've really
known really what Scooby-Doo is about. I've obviously known pop culture. I've seen it around. I've seen a couple of cartoons, but I don't really know why it's bypassed me. I think I've been one of those stages where I've grown up, obviously, with Scooby-Doo being there and available ready to me, but maybe it's something my mum didn't encourage me to watch when I was a little girl. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, so I think it might have been that she's thought she gets scared at Disney films, so maybe it's best to just avoid Scooby-Doo because it's got ghosts and zombies and such. And
Did how you'd react.
yeah, and maybe she just thought she wanted a quiet life.
Yeah. I was looking back at some of the old like cartoons of like some of the villains who they used to have, and I was like, some of these drawings are really creepy. I don't remember them scaring me, but I think they could have definitely, like, 2D animation can be scary, and I guess if you thought Disney was scary, it's like I can see why they might think that. But I think this is a good entry level as a kid. I think it's to get into that sort of spooky vibes, but not too bad.
So definitely fine now as an adult. I don't have any nightmares or anything from watching Scooby-Doo. Not got any horrible traumas or anything from it. I think I can handle it.
Good.
So from the beginning, got that Luna Ghost character, which I think was kind of impressive, really, for a costume design. And I know, like, I think looking back on it, the effects might look a bit ropey at times, but certainly back then it was like for the time it was like, oh wow, this looks like really amazing for what it was.
Yeah, I loved the costume of the first sort of villain, and I know it's like kind of a thing where people like wish they saw more of him in the film or whatever. But like, I think the use of practical and sort of CGI like back then, that was great.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm invested, and he's gone.
And it kind of sets up for what the gang's about. The whole Mystery Inc. group and what they do as a collective.
Yeah, Paul had to actually kind of explain to me what Mystery Inc. is. I guess I wasn't aware of what the whole concept is. Obviously, going into it, I've kind of seen pop culture of Scooby-Doo, but not really known that they're a group.
What they do, yeah. So, I guess, for somebody, obviously, coming into this essentially blind to it, like, if they knew nothing about the characters, not knowing, what's the deal with this?
Yeah.
I guess there's certain IPs that kind of do that unless you know the whole background about it from, like, so like cartoons, whatever, from back in the day, or anything that's, a particular show or something. And you're like, you need to know a little bit rather than just going, why should I care about this?
Yeah, so you have to refer it to being a little bit like a Marvel character, basically, like the superheroes that are going around and or being an inspector solving mysteries.
Detectives, of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like, is it a business? Because they've got incorporated. What's going on? It's so confusing. But yeah, it kind of does just sort of throw. That's what I like about this first one, is it like it goes down a different route. It's like not like the episodes. It's like, oh, we're just going to go on another adventure. But yeah, I guess you kind of have to have the knowledge of the stereotypes of the characters. I think that's pretty handy to know.
But Matthew Lillard, who plays Shaggy, I don't think I could see anybody else playing the role of him. He does such a good job of incorporating what the character's about, really, and especially the fact that he spends a lot of time interacting with CGI dog Scooby throughout the film, so fair play.
It's amazing. It really is. To be fair, they bring such a good charisma to it. It's the comedy, it's the value of them two characters on the screen. It's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
So I just really think they're my favourite, to be fair, and enjoy seeing them on screen. They're like the best part of it.
Yeah.
So we've got Velma, who I'd say is my second favourite. I feel like she's the overlooked underdog who is the smart one, does all the legwork, but just doesn't get noticed.
Yeah.
And I definitely can relate to that sometimes. So yeah, I feel like she's literally the brains of the group and does majority of the work.
Mm-hmm.
You've then got Daphne, who is the pretty one. Obviously, she's always the damsel in distress.
Oh, yeah.
She's the one that always needs to be looked after and supported in a sense. Yeah, she's got some good moves towards the end, but at the beginning, you kind of find her a little bit annoying and irritating because it's like, oh, the woman has to be looked after and protected. Then you've got Fred.
Yeah.
Where do I go with Fred? To be fair, he's really cocky and annoying. I don't really know actually what he does.
That could just be Freddie Prinze Jr. That could be him just being himself, I think.
He just kind of takes Velma's credit.
Yeah, kind of does, yeah.
I completely agree with your order so far. I was like, yeah, I think Shaggy and Scooby are the best. And I think that's kind of the same with the cartoons and the films they've gone with. Like, they're the kind of always on the poster at the front. But yeah, Matthew Lillard is just, he knows what he had to do, and he brings his A game. I think it's so good.
Yeah, I forget who plays the actress who plays Velma, but I think she's like second running for like playing the character very well. She's got all of the sort of mannerisms down and everything that she does in the film and the voice.
Yeah, like she stands with the arms behind her back and everything. Like, it's just all the details.
My glasses.
Yeah. There, my glasses. I can't see anything without my glasses. And it's like, yeah, there to sort of throw that in the film. It's good. That sort of happens in the cartoon quite regularly, so it's kind of funny, but...
It's a classic line. Like, you probably say it even though you've not seen it. It's just, again, the pop culture references.
I do think as well for Velma, she's got that kind of nerdy kind of voice. It's a bit high pitched and kind of book smart. And I think she's not as worldly wise as she probably is book smart. And you can kind of see that in the second one where there's got a boy interest and she just doesn't know how to be herself around him and what to do.
Yeah.
So another part that just kind of threw me in a loop was Mr. Bean's in it.
I suppose if you've not seen it, you're like, oh. But to me, this was the first time I'd seen Rowan Atkinson as a kid. I didn't know him as Mr. Bean. So it's very jarring. I was like, oh, okay, so the guy from Scooby-Doo plays Mr. Bean, or he's in Blackadder. I'm like, oh, okay.
And I was just a bit like, this is quite strange because I've never really associated Mr. Bean other than being in a suit. That's just who he is. And it was bizarre because he wasn't actually acting like Mr. Bean. Like every role I've seen him in, he's pretty much Mr. Bean. Even in Love Actually, he seems to be like in a suit. He's got that kind of Mr. Bean humour.
Yeah, but it's more posh, well spoken in that a little bit, but
True, yes.
Sort of speaking over it.
Yes.
But still, he's still got that annoyance about him, the way that he's like prolonging that pain for the customer, like Mr. Bean would do, like the silly character. Whereas this is a bit more normal role, I would say for Mr. Bean. There's
certain actors you kind of just associate with characters, I guess. Really, it's sometimes hard to separate them. Sometimes, but, yeah, but he's the main crux of the story. To bring them all together for like one last mystery to solve on this place called what's it called, Spooky Island or something very generic.
Spooky Island, yeah. They couldn't think of a different name. Like, yeah, let's go with Spooky Island.
It's like you can't have something too. You need something simple for a kids' film. You can't really have something that's like a fancy French word or Latin or something like this to associate with, but keep it simple and basic, I guess.
Nah, it is what it is.
So Shaggy's and Scooby's love of food is something that I definitely adore. Being a foodie myself, it's one of those where, like, well, why not? But also, I think it's just they bring comedy and humour wherever they go with this, even when there's a scene of the food, it's kind of laughable. So like when they're in the camper van and you said they've kind of got that stoner vibes to them. I think that's always what's good about a film that way, obviously, when it's bringing the adults involved as well as it's been going over the children's heads. I think that kind of gives enjoyment on both levels and perspectives.
Oh yes, definitely. Like when they have that gap between them being a group and they break up and they're in the van with the smoke coming out the van, you're like, I wonder what's going on in there. Really, they're just cooking hot dogs. So you're like, yeah, it's perfect. That kind of adult and kid humour, like, you could watch as a kid, enjoy it, but your adults are like, see what you're doing there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I absolutely loved the vibe of this film. I think it just took you back to being a young kid for me, back in the early 2000s where nothing was wrong, everything was, I don't know.
Simpler time.
Yeah, just because you're a child, it's simpler. And I feel like it's the music, the vibe of it, it's just definitely typical to early 2000s.
Like surfer vibes.
It makes you kind of just enjoy watching it and bringing you back to that kind of stage where life was just a little bit better.
Yeah, I loved this sort of music. I was listening to the soundtrack earlier today, and it was just like so. Like, I hadn't listened to. I'd only heard the songs in the films, a lot of them. I knew the Simple Plan one before, but this one I was listening to the songs as a whole, and there's like they've got some like custom songs made for the film, and I was like, whoa, where's this budget coming from? But yeah, no, I really love the music. It makes me feel like when I used to play like Tony Hawk on the PS2, like you'd wear your cargo trousers, and like yeah, it's just better times, really.
Yeah, it feels very much of its time, with the frosted tips and such, and the lingo that they're kind of using, like yo dog, that kind of. It's like what and all that kind of.
Just better times back then. So it kind of reminds me of some 2000 films that I remember growing up as a kid. So like the Lizzie McGuire movie. I don't know if that was a similar time or not, but
probably a little bit later.
I think it is
early 2000s.
Yeah,
definitely. And it just brings you back to that kind of nostalgia and enjoying it. And I think that, I don't know, it just seems more one of those things where you kind of just associate that's the early 2000s and it's aged, but because you grew up with it, you love it.
Yeah, no, nostalgia plays a big part.
Yeah. What I do like about this film as well, I think within the early 2000s, technology wasn't a massive thing back then. So you wouldn't have like an up-to-date fancy phone or anything like that, or mod cons that would be helpful to crack a mystery. It was more, you had to be a bit smart with technology and a bit brainy like Velma to be able to actually crack the mystery that they had. Yeah,
that's true. I think there's like is there like a couple of phones, or I think someone has like a big brick mobile. I think it's Mary Jane, and then like otherwise it's just like the cabled phone in. So yeah
like the bartender was he's rung up and he's like, I'm looking for a Mr. Doo. Is it Melvin Doo?
Melvin Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
Oh gosh, so good.
So in terms of Scooby-Doo, how do you think he holds up in terms of his CGI design, everything?
When I went back and watched it for this, I don't know. There's that clear like separation between where they are, like on the camera, and then where he is. He's very like separate. But I guess thinking about it in 2002, I think it was pretty amazing to me. But looking at it now and then watching its sequel, there's a definite difference between the two uses of CGI. But I still think it's pretty good. Like the kind of, you can see all of his emotions, and I think they get it down to a T. I remember seeing a behind the scenes thing where they're in the scene when they're in the airport, and a guy's like dressed up and then he's got a green screen face and then they get like a wet sponge just to get like Freddy's face, and then like I was just like, that must be so awkward to film, so awkward just to have like a man in a green suit and then just someone with a sponge on your face. But yeah, I think it was amazing for the time, maybe not so great now. What about you guys?
I think I'm mostly impressed by this, but obviously you got films like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Space Jam, where they kind of interacting with live action and cartoon characters in the same space and everything like that, and so it's impressive that even at this time that Shaggy, who's sort of like working alongside essentially a CGI dog there, and it's not painfully obvious that he's working with a cartoon character in that capacity, and holding him, touching him, whatever his interaction is. But watching it on Now TV subscription through Sky Movies and seeing that in HD, and it's in some way it's kind of like it kind of shows the blemishes a little bit more, I guess,
I bet.
with that, unfortunately. But I mean, overall, it's not too bad. But I guess for Scooby-Doo, who's I think he's a Great Dane breed of dog, so obviously short-haired and so I think it'd be a lot worse if it was aged more poorly. If he, something like a long-haired dog, I think, the hair effects wouldn't be so strong, but managed to get away with it, I think.
I like the sort of the characteristics they carried over from the cartoon, like when he's hiding and they get like his little twinkle and the sound effects. I like how they sort of blended that.
So going on to that then, with Scooby's expressions, you see him when he's happy, when he's sad, and you just really get that emotion through his eyes and through the CGI for Scooby. You really feel him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's like there's certain points at the film you can actually almost see like tears in his eyes, like when he looks really sad, like he's very believable, like you feel for him there. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want my own Scooby. So it's got a good moral behind it. So obviously Shaggy and Scooby say friends don't quit. And I feel like when you're growing up as a child, I feel like when you're falling out and you get into a tantrum with one another, you're like, I'm not your friend anymore. And you easily kind of quit and end that friendship. And I feel like this is quite a good moral for younger children to learn.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It also shows you the repercussions of the other group, because when the mystery, obviously, of the other three, because they get to a point of where they're like, oh, well, I'm going to quit. And then they all just quit.
Yeah, they just, I'll see you later, bye, whatever.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
Yeah. I do think that Scooby and Shaggy are like the most emotive characters. Like whether you're a kid and adult, I think you feel for them most. Well, in the first one at least, like their story. The other three are kind of like they're like the brains behind the group, but I think everyone's access point is through Scooby and Shaggy. So yeah, I think that's really interesting.
Shall we talk about Scrappy? Puppy power!
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't really mind him, but I mean, I certainly don't mind him in the cartoons as much, but going into this, I guess he come off a bit grating, really.
Oh yes, I think everyone hated him before this film, so I think people still hate him as a character.
What did you make of himself?
Well, initially, I know they're saying puppy power. I'm aware that he's a bit scrappy.
Yeah.
But I just thought he was, I don't know, cute little dog, and obviously had a little bit of a scrap, a bit feisty, but not really like to the point of where he's really annoying, which is quite frustrating because he is really cutely drawn. So I feel like he should be kind of representing how he looks, but actually as you further go along in the movie, you're aware that the outcome's not that great for him, and you get why actually everyone really doesn't like him.
Sort of irony in that.
Yeah. He should be like a small version of Scooby-Doo.
Well, his nephew
Yes.
refers to him as Uncle Scooby in the cartoons.
Yeah. I think I remember in the cartoon, he looked cute in the cartoon. But yeah, I remember like everyone's just like, go away, Scrappy. Like he's just very annoying, and he's very like, even if you don't have context yourself, but just like in that flashback, they make it really clear like how annoying he is, and like wheeze over Daphne and like get out, which is rightly so. I'm like, get out. Yeah, I think it's interesting as well. Like they both can talk, and I'm like, what's the rules here? Is this a real dog, or are we all hearing two dogs speak? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you can't think about too much. Just like the fact that there's a talking dog in this universe. Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's like in any cartoon. So, for example, like Looney Tunes, Disney, you've got like a dog version that can talk, and then you've got one like that cat. Like, is it
Pluto and Goofy? Yeah.
Yeah.
The intelligence levels going on there, yeah.
Which is like, how do you decide which one can and which one can't talk?
Yeah.
Just suspend your disbelief and just enjoy the film, and it's normally fine. Another thing I really liked about the sort of homage to the cartoons was like all the costumes, like how brightly colourful they were. I love how consistent it is. Like everything's either orange for Velma, purple for Daphne, or whatever for the others. But I just loved it, and it really sort of pops. It's very early 2000s. It's very sort of campy as well, which I've seen because I know they've made a few maybe fan favorite films after this, like on YouTube or some low budget. They don't look as good, the costumes. So I think just by going like, let's go, everything is their color. It just looks so much better. It's so bold. I love it.
I think that's what works with it, because obviously you've got those iconic popping colours. It's like having Lisa Simpson without her orange dress. It's just, it would be weird not seeing her in that, like if you put her in something else. And I think that's the same if you've grown up with the cartoons and know that obviously Velma wears orange, Daphne wears purple, and you're aware of this. And if they didn't do that, then it would just feel a bit strange. What I do love is in the second one, you do have more outfit changes and it ramps up, but it still has to be those iconic colours for them, for the people that they are.
Absolutely, yeah.
They do really stand out compared to like the other like people, like all the other 2002 people. Like everyone's wearing like, you know, skater gear, and they're just wearing these really like brightly coloured sort of 70s outfit. Like it really stand out back then.
So I feel like Daphne brings her girliness into this really well, and I think that it actually shows us a bit of a strength. So in the second one, she's kind of developed and she's shown like she is quite smart but can be looking pretty as well. So that obviously when they're in the cage and she's like, makeup's actually really handy, and you don't have to just apply it. It can come in useful for getting you out of cages, and obviously putting the powder on and getting the fingerprint. So being quite savvy in that retrospect. She's also now a black belt, is that right?
Yeah, in that the 2 years the gap in the first film, that it's comes around for a purpose later on as well, so it kind of like makes sense to have done that, so that she's developed herself in that way.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like, you can say, Daphne's quite, you know, I guess the term girly girl, like back in the day, like, you know, okay, she likes the way she looks, she's very sort of like hyper feminine in that way, but she's still badass. Like I love that, like she gets both. So for the time, I remember seeing this, like bearing in mind I hadn't seen Buffy at this point, so I just knew Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne, and just seeing her like do all these like kicks and fights in like these big purple, you know, knee-high boots, I was like, that's really cool. So I just loved that. It was the first sort of kind of, yeah, probably one of the first sort of few sort of badass characters I'd seen on screen as a kid. I was like, that's very inspiring to see, and she's doing it like looking really cool in all her purple outfit.
It's good at how that was written. And speaking of writers, obviously from back in the day, I would have I wouldn't know anything about like who directors were, or let alone writers of films and stuff. But noticing the credits this time that James Gunn was involved in writing, who's obviously known for like Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. It's quite interesting, like to go in that with that knowledge now, and I think that with his involvement, I believe the script was going to be a lot more R-rated. I believe.
I think he said he changed a lot of things. I think they were going to have like Velma and Daphne kiss, I think, at one point. I read that, like, because he did this like Twitter thing a couple of years ago where he answered those questions about it. He said, yeah, Velma and Daphne are going to kiss when they body swap in the first one. They had to add in all these love interests for Velma because of that. They wanted to, like, in both films, like, they add in these love interests. I'm like, not so sure. But yeah, I think there was a lot of changes to it, and obviously they're like, he was aware that he put in all the adult humor jokes about like Shaggy and Scooby, like, you know, there's smoke coming out of the van. Like he did it deliberately, like he knew that all the adults would be watching it. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting to see, like you say, Paul, like how it's just like you don't really pay attention when you're younger, you know, but now you're like, oh, that's James Gunn, you know, he's doing Suicide Squad, he's doing Guardians of the Galaxy, like really big writer director.
Yeah.
And I think he's still got that humor. You can start to see it here, like in the group dynamics, humor. I think, yeah, you can start to see who he's going to become, I think.
Yeah, a good starting point. Yeah, so the horror elements, like the spooky castle that they go into with the abandoned amusement ride in itself.
Let's definitely go inside.
It's pretty dangerous looking. All those spikes and swinging axes and everything, and it's not something I would really like. I wouldn't be going on that, fear of having my limbs chopped off. But it's like, I wonder why it's abandoned.
Oh yeah. That is probably the one bit where, as a kid, I think I found it like the scariest. I think like the little goblins on the thing, because I think I would have seen, was Spider-Man 2 out by then? Oh, no, Spider-Man 1 would have been out, yeah. So I would have seen that, and I think the goblin, Green Goblin, and I saw a goblin on this, I was like, oh my god, terrifying, with its little red eyes, and that freaked me out.
Yeah, I would definitely have been freaked out. Well, my younger self most certainly would have been.
So it's a bit weird when Shaggy and Scooby are at that food table and on the ride.
Yeah.
And all those, you see all those sausages like moving around. Like, how are they moving?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just flailing their head. It's a bit weird. And when they're against the wall, there's like this purple snake thing that looks very organic. I don't know how that can't be part of the ride. That feels like something really alien almost.
Yeah, it definitely gets very sort of alien at that point. And like, I don't get how the sausages fly across the room. I watched it and I was just like, I still am like, what? I need to have that bit explained to me a bit. Like, why? That's not on the ride, surely.
I think it's for the fact that Shaggy and Scooby need to get in their fright scares.
Yeah.
As you know, that's what they're known for. So obviously they need to be jumped and freaked out, and then there's that walking away kind of sheepishly. Yeah. And I think that's what I'm even aware of with just not really seeing the cartoons that often. Yeah. I'm aware that is something iconic and that's what they do. And it needs to be implemented in the film somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we kind of get to where we've got a couple of love interests happening. So we've got Shaggy with Mary Jane.
There's an in-joke there, of course.
Oh, yeah. I only just realised that.
Like, oh, that's my favourite name. It's like, I wonder why.
I do think that it's testament to the film and obviously Scooby and Shaggy's relationship that obviously normally this is where it would go down the line of, oh, Shaggy's got a new love interest and Scooby gets jealous because it's his best friend and they're taking him away, but it don't really go down that route.
Yeah, you got that strong connection with them that, you know, the bonds bros before hoes.
Yeah, like any other kind of show or film would do that generic thing, isn't it? Oh, you get a jealous friend and stuff. But I think because we know that there are monsters involved and like you say, Scooby's a bit different. Yeah, you've got the loyalty there, which I love. It goes against the sort of stereotype, I guess, of that dynamic.
And the second love interest?
Well, it's Velma.
Yeah, Velma has
she
one.
Really had a love interest?
What's that guy? I don't even know his name.
Yeah, she's got something. It's not as much as the second one, but...
Oh, you mean the guy with the Led Zeppelin t-shirt?
Beard.
I don't really see him as that, because I thought I got a bit confused thinking from the second film where Seth Green's character is the love interest for Velma in that, but I kind of forgot that I thought he was in the first one.
Oh.
But, I didn't really see this guy as anything in particular like a strong love connection.
Yeah, he was annoying me. I was just like, go away. When she's at the bar trying to figure out puzzles and she's doing a great job, she's like, go away. Yeah, it's kind of. Did they kiss at the end as well? I can't remember.
I think they just hugged. I think.
Yeah, she says I'm just steaming up my glasses. I think she says that. And I was just like, oh no.
I think it kind of obviously the way that they've designed this to be for Velma's character, she won't be rushing into like too much of a relationship because obviously she's quite shy. She's not really used to kind of that sort of relationship that she's been in.
I know. Remember you saying as we were watching the film that how you noticed that the character of Velma was like quite like naturally pretty.
Yeah, she is.
Oh, I mean, Linda Cardellini now. Like, I don't know if you've seen a picture of her recently. Like, she's so stunning. Like, she's in one of my favourite shows called Dead to Me. It's on Netflix. I would highly recommend it. But she's so good. And she's like 45, 50. I'm like, she looks amazing.
She is. I think she's prettier than Daphne, to be fair.
No, I agree. Yeah.
So, which one would you prefer, Velma or Daphne?
Well, in the iteration of the first film, I would go of the film that I would go Velma.
What, so you say in the second film you'd go Daphne?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, it's like obviously how the characters, the people who are portraying those characters, I would still choose Velma over Daphne. I mean, not like the fact of in the second one there's the yeah.
Just digging yourself a hole there, Paul.
Okay, I get
there
you.
you go with me.
Yeah.
But from the cartoons, there's never really been a strong love connection between Daphne and Fred. But I feel like they kind of try and push that further with this film. I don't know if it's for the fans or whatever. Like, you know, it's coming true. It's coming true for that. So.
Yeah, I think because they're like the two, I guess, I don't know, this is getting weird now, but in the cartoon, I guess they are the two stereotypically good-looking ones. So it's like, oh, let's put the two popular, two leader characters together, and they're like, oh, let's get Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr., who I think they got married in 2002, so they were together. So like, oh, they're like, let's get them together and play them as the lead. So I was like, feels a little bit done for the film's sake because they've cast them. I'm not sure, but I don't know if it was needed to have them get together. I'm not sure.
I feel like that's just like a 2000 thing. I think it's one of those things where obviously the popular kids got together, they were the good looking ones, and there wasn't really anyone absolutely ugly in this film, you know.
Yeah.
It's just what it was. It was like everyone had to be pretty and good looking, and they always had to have a nice outcome. It's just, there wasn't really much diversity within it.
No, they're all good looking.
One thing, obviously as a child I was found it hilarious, I think, but to be fair, because of the, there's the...
Don't say the farts.
The fart jokes.
I knew it.
that are in it, but one thing did actually get me quite a bit was the fact of when they're in the castle, the amusement ride, and they do the classic, hiding in the suit of armor and everything like that, to avoid the villains and all that stuff. And there's this one of, and then Shaggy's in there and he farts, and then there's this this reverb of the fart and metallic sound that's coming through, and it really got me actually. So how silly that was.
It is good. The sound, same with the bit before where Shaggy and Scooby, I don't know why I'm laughing so much, are having a fart off before Daphne walks in, and it's the one where he turns and it goes high pitch. It did make me laugh when I watched it again. Oh god, I'm such a child. But I imagine seeing that at 6 or 7, that would have been so funny. So funny.
Yeah, especially for a boy, I can see where the humour lies.
Oh, the early 2000s, it was such a time with the toilet humour.
What would you make of those, I don't even know what you'd really call them, really, but the bunny demon things?
I don't know. I think they're quite comical. I like them. They're kind of these sort of, I don't know what the word is, sort of like the villain's right-hand man. They're bumping into each other. Again, they've got really expressive faces, but like Scooby-Doo. The CGI on them, I think, is worse than Scooby-Doo when I was looking at some of the stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah,
when they're stretching their faces, trying to pull the mask off. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it did look a bit, yeah.
They've got personality, so I like that.
You said they kind of remind you a little bit of the Monstars and Space Jam, didn't you?
Yeah. So I think it's the lankiness of them as well as the colour.
Yeah.
So for example, I think back in the 2000s or early 90s,
yeah,
any villain was kind of coloured in those pastel greens or pinks or purples. So even if you think of Hercules, for example,
the minions, yeah,
the demons, within there, they're the same kind of colorization.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that is true.
So I feel like they've utilised it all on Scooby instead of the demon bunnies. I think, to be fair, when I was little, if I'd have seen this, I'd have been frightened of those.
Yeah.
So coming towards more of the end, I feel like Daphne kind of does a bit of a 360 within this. So initially she's a damsel in distress and, oh, woe is me, somebody has to save me. And then at the back end, she actually saves the day. So it's thanks to Daphne being on the roof, doing her karate or black belt stuff, whatever you want to call it, and fighting off this big hulk of a man, bringing down the disco ball and opening the light up so that it kind of kills all the demon bunnies and everything like that. So I feel like she actually is the saviour of this. To be fair, I don't actually really know what Fred brings or does.
He doesn't do a right lot, really, to be fair. I think he's almost kind of...
He's probably the character that least progresses, I would say, out of everyone.
He's not really that integral to the story, if you look at it that way.
No, exactly. I feel like he just comes in and just steals a
bit of eye candy, I don't know.
Well, no, I think it's more look what we did as a team.
Yeah. It gives like Velma like the end of it. It's just, he's like, you speak to the press. Like that's the only thing I swear that he changes about himself. That's it.
Yeah, so that's pretty much only the growth he actually does have. Whereas the two girls, you do see them both kind of learning and developing. Obviously, Velma is trying to be a little bit more with her social skills and such, as well as being a bookworm. And obviously Daphne with the dance and the dress versus being a badass at the end.
They are good people, even if they don't think like they're that important, but they are. And I love that, like, it's the whole team dynamic is great, and especially the two women have this like development which is really good. Like that was I think it was pretty groundbreaking for 2002. You could probably do something a little bit better maybe in this day and age, but I thought seeing that as a kid, that was really inspiring. To see these two actresses sort of just be badass, really. I loved it.
So, is there any other points you want to bring up before we go into the scoring?
I think just the fact that I love it. I love this film. I've probably watched it, I'm going to say 40 to 50 times, maybe more.
Wow.
It's just like a real good comfort watch for me. And I know as I've got older, yes, you can pick apart its flaws, but I think there's something in it that it's so quick. It's like, what is it, like an hour and 20 something? Like it's really quick. Everyone can find it funny. You can show it kids now, they'd laugh, adults laugh. Great music, great casting. Like there's so many good aspects that I look at a film, because that's why I'm such a harsh critic, really, is because I look at like everything before I sort of rate a film. And I do think it's so fun. It's comforting because I used to watch it as a kid. I used to have a TV in my room. I used to fall asleep watching films. It'd be like this, Freaky Friday, like all of those kind of films I just loved. There's just something wholesome about it that I think is just amazing. Yeah, that's my TED talk.
And if you were to score it out of 1 to 10, 1 being lowest, 10 being the highest, what would that be?
I think of kind of meet in the middle. Let's go with an 8.5 out of 10, because I think it's just, like I say, it's got everything. I do acknowledge that it's not perfect looking at it now. Watching the second one as well, I can see why maybe you'd want to see a bit more of the traditional episodes, having those kind of Monster of the Weeks dynamics, which I can kind of miss with this one. It takes you away from that. But because I saw it at the right time, it was my kind of music, everything. It was just perfect film for me to see. And yeah, I just love it so much. So yeah, 8.5 I think is a fair score.
I'm thinking like what to score it really, but there is I guess a level of nostalgia for it, but not quite as strong as say something like Pokemon or Space Jam. For me, there's I guess more my Scooby-Doos.
Right.
I mean, you can pick apart those films, but I kind of grew up with them, and there was a bit of a comfort film to get some level of enjoyment out of them to this day. So it works, but there was a level of enjoyment from this. Some of the childish humour still in there.
Fart jokes.
Of course, but still a couple of laughs here now and again. But I think I'm going to give it 6.5.
Whoa. that seems very low to me.
Ooh, you just ripped Sarah's heart out.
Just think of 6-year-old Sarah's heart being torn apart.
Cruel. And you said I was a harsh critic.
Yeah. I'm going to lose that title and I'll pass it over to you, Paul.
So for me, it's not something I've grown up with, but that doesn't mean it didn't take me down memory lane. I really enjoyed the whole film. The music was amazing in this, and obviously it had that early 2000 vibe. It makes you feel nostalgic, even if you haven't grown up with watching Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
It's just one of those overall comfort films. It gives you joy, it brings you happiness, and it just is one of those things where it's not too over complex, but you can just put it on and make you feel happy and good. I think as well, because of it being in the 2000s, I'm a bit biased in the fact that it brings you back to that early stages of when you were young and you were a child and life was just easy and simple. And yet again, like I said about the music, it makes you feel like you're at a school disco with like the bump in the night, and that's like a Halloween soundtrack, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for me, I think I agree with both of you, what you've said. So I'm going to go in the middle between you and Sarah, and I'm going to go 7.5.
I think that's really good for a first time watch. I'm like, that's really solid.
So you would watch it again then?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's one of those comfort films. So like if you felt sorry for yourself
Yes.
and you needed
That's
a little
it.
bit of comfort, then you'd just put this one on and you'd feel
Easy
good.
going one. Yeah.
100%. This and School of Rock, and I'm happy. Honestly.
Yeah, no, that is a really good film. It just cheers you up, doesn't it? It just makes you feel a bit better.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, and I'm sorry you got the DVD, but I'm surprised this doesn't have like a Blu-ray release or like a more easily available one, at the very least.
Yeah.
Because being sort of like a semi-cult classic, that like people will be crying out for it to have a more or easier access to it on streaming services and stuff, but it just seems like one of those anomalies, like why it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, they missed like the 20th anniversary. They could have done it for that, for like 2022 or something. I think it's in like a DVD box set. I think I was looking on HMV. They've got it in like a little Mystery Inc. van. I think that's still the DVD, so I don't know if it's Blu-ray, but they've got a lot of the movies in like a really cool little van. So I was looking at it, I was like, maybe I could get that.
Well, I guess we can touch upon the second film, Monsters Unleashed, if you want, before we go, Sarah.
Yeah.
Because for me, I thought, well, as we had it on Now TV, we thought, oh, let's check it out as an opportunity to see what remember. Because for me personally, I didn't remember a great deal about it. It was almost like seeing it for the first time again in some aspects, really. I guess that's left such an impact on me, whereas the other one, even if I hadn't seen that as much, I'd remember more of that than this one. But what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think again I may have seen the cinema because I loved the first one, and yeah, I would have been 9. So yeah, again, still a great audience. But even though it's much more like the episodes of the TV show, it just didn't work for me. It's like it's the same director, James Gunn's writing again, but there's just something that doesn't click in the same way. I don't know what it is. Like it should work. It should work because like everyone was like, oh yeah, let's adapt TV shows into films. Let's adapt video games into films. But I think because it's so like for like with the monsters, maybe it feels too familiar. Whereas the first was like, let's take what you think you know and do something totally different. I didn't know all the monsters' names, like when you see all the costumes hanging up in this sort of the collection, but I knew there would be references to the TV villains, which I thought, if you're a fan, you're going to absolutely love that and sing those names.
Yeah, I feel like it was too many monsters. Even you said so, that everything felt a bit more cheap, really, with the costumes and all the even the effects a little bit were just
Yeah, I feel like they tried to put too much into it and actually just came out with a worse outcome.
Yeah, I don't think I liked it as much, and I can't really put my finger on it. Even watching it again, I think it's too polished in some way. It's very much like a set. It feels like a set, whereas the first one they went to Australia, I think, and filmed it on the island, a lot of it. But this one just feels too clean. We get to see the mystery machine, but it's like a pimped out like, like Pimp My Ride MTV thing with its alloys. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that. But it was good to see that. So this one really relies on the nostalgia, I think. People probably would have said, we wanted to see Monsters of the Week. We wanted to see the Mystery Machine. So they listened to that. But I think they lacked something in the writing, maybe in the story. It felt a little bit simple, in my opinion.
So I also feel like for this one, it's Scooby and Shaggy feel like they're not good enough. They need to be like the others and be proper detectives. And I think this is where it lacks a little bit of the humour because they're trying to be a bit more serious. And what we love about Scooby and Shaggy is their humour, is the fact that they mess up the mission and that they're a bit kooky. Whereas because of that, it's taking away what we actually love about them.
Yeah, the comedy doesn't quite land with what they're trying to pull off here, and it doesn't really work.
Yeah, there's something about it. It was. I don't know if the CGI does it get better or worse. I think it does get a little bit better all around because obviously a lot of the monsters are like some practical, or then they've like added ghosts like Mist or whatever, or the Tar monster. I think that's where a lot of the budget's gone. Like, so let's build a set that's cheaper than flying out everyone to Australia, and then let's put some money on some of the CGI, which it looked okay, some of it, but again, when the Tar monster was like holding everyone and it was going over that, and like when Shaggy's got a female body, like what? That was bizarre.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it definitely looked like his face was superimposed on someone else's body, and it looked very off kilter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the head wasn't tracking with the body. Oh god, it's like what's it called? Sleep paralysis demon. I can see Shaggy into my bed. Just oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I think so also for Velma, she has to dress up in that Britney Spears outfit, and I feel like it's just not really for her.
God.
No.
Even at the time, I think I thought, I was like, what is she doing that for? And I can imagine like all the dads probably in the audience like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm
maybe.
like, what? It's so unlike Velma. Like, even as a kid, that's not her character. And Seth Green's character's like, it's not you. That's not what I like about you. So that's, I mean, if that's a lesson in a weird, perverse way to show it, I guess. I don't know. 2004. What I don't know what to expect from 2004.
And even the villain, it was like one of the things I did remember is I think it was the reporter was involved in it, and obviously at the end I was kind of partially right, but then I was still duped then because there was a mask under that mask. So
yes, yeah, the double.
But I don't know what that says about remembering the film, or I don't know.
Yeah, they do a good job with Seth Green being like the red herring through it, to be honest. But yeah, I forgot about what's her name? Is it Alicia? Is it Silverstone? She was in Clueless. I think that's where I recognised her from.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad that you said that now.
You're thinking like, where's she from? Clueless.
Thought she looked familiar.
Yeah, so again, very like they've got all these big like 90s, early 2000 actors in this film. But yeah, it just there's something about it. Like it could work, it should work, but it didn't. I've watched it maybe 2 or 3 times now, compared to my 40 times of the first one. I think there's too much power from above. Like, oh, the first one did well. Have some more money. Do what you want. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I'd rush back to watching the second one. However, I'd put the first one on happily and really enjoy watching it again.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I won't bother with the second one at all. Yeah, I don't know if you want to give this a score or just chalk it up to a nah.
Well, I looked on my score on my letterbox to see what I gave it whenever I rated it. Yeah, so I would give Scooby-Doo, what's it called? Monsters Unleashed? I'm not sure about that title. According to my old score, I gave it 5 out of 10, which is 50-50. Is that too generous? Maybe. But I think it's an okay film again. Like, costumes are still great, like we saw from the first film. There's some nostalgia there with the flashbacks and the group dynamic again. I just think the writing is pretty poor, and the ideas are maybe a little bit small by doing something more familiar. So I like the first one more because it takes a risk. So yeah, 50%, 5 out of 10.
I don't think I would be checking this one out again. And I'd much prefer to put on the first one, absolutely. But in terms of a score, if it was going to be lower than the first one, I think I'm going to put it around 4.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I don't know if I'm being too harsh there, or especially in retrospect, in comparisons to what I gave the first film.
So yeah, I think I agree with everybody. It's one of those films I won't go back to, but somebody out there will enjoy it and gain something from it if they're really big fans of Scooby-Doo. So yep, I agree with Sarah. I'll give it a 5.
So thank you, Sarah, for taking the time to talk about this film with us.
Thank you for having me on. I've loved talking about Scooby-Doo, one of the best films ever. Everyone should watch it if they haven't already.
There's still time.
There's still time, yep. It's never too late to watch it, so everyone go and watch it.
And for one last time, if you'd like to remind everybody where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, so my YouTube is Popcorn Chat, Instagram is Sarah's Popcorn Chat, Twitter is S Popcorn Chat. You'll find me in some capacity if you type in Sarah's Popcorn Chat. On the internet, I'll be on a platform.
Yeah, so go check out her YouTube channel. And thank you very much once again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode, and a big thank you to our special guest. If you want to check out some of our other episodes, you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And we'd really appreciate you leave us a 5-star review on any of those platforms as well. A big thank you to the Patreons for supporting the show, who are Mark from 100 Things to Learn from Film, Ben from Film Vloggers, Nico from the Good, the Bad, the Weird podcast, Chris Gren, who is cgren_draw on Instagram, Alex, who is desperately seeking username on Instagram, Shani, who is SDOG on Instagram, Danny Jones, or Jonesy, who is at WeightLossJonesy on Instagram, Emma, who is M_Hayton on Instagram, and of course Sophie's mom. And if you would like a shout out on each of our episodes and the opportunity to vote on what we watch once a month, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/SP Filmviewers to sign up for as little as £1 or $1.50 a month, and gets you those little perks and helps grow our little community. And lastly, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok under the handle SP_Filmviewers. Once again, thank you very much for listening, and we will speak to you next time.